Thank you for inviting me. Thank you, Summer, and thank you all for coming. I'm really excited to be here, and I'm excited to have a few minutes to tell you about Project Rogue Valley. How many have heard of Project Rogue Valley before today? Oh, that's pretty good. It's about half or so. It's exciting to hear about Weston Price, which I've known very little about until recently, and the way it has succeeded in organizing people around a very strong common interest. And it strikes me that that's kind of the major challenge ahead of us for those of us who are trying to build a more hopeful future. I was struck when Summer said that polling shows that 93% of people oppose genetically modified food, and yet that industry continues to advance and grow. And isn't that interesting that with that kind of almost unanimous feeling, a lot of the food system is going in another direction. And that's true of a lot of things going on these days. And I think finding partnerships and finding ways to spread the word and finding ways to inspire people with some hope that things can get better is a task that a lot of us are trying to advance these days. Well, the good news is that we have a lot to work with in terms of common dreams. Pardon me, is there any water? I have a slight cold. Common dreams and common understanding of what's needed these days. I was really struck. I've thought about that. Excuse me. For a long time. I've been in the Valley about 40 years, and I've lived in Sam's Valley and Butte Falls and Ashland, two different towns. And what we notice and what we read about in the papers are the conflicts and the differences of opinion, and very little the kinds of things that bring people together. And that always struck me, and especially a year ago, when I was running for county commissioner on a platform of community self-reliance and enhancing the local food supply. And I probably knocked on it, this time exactly a year ago, I was probably knocking on some doors within a few blocks in here, and I knocked on a lot of doors and talked to a lot of people. And the almost universal belief that people had that it's time to make our community more self-reliant was really striking. And right at the beginning of that, the real centerpiece of that is food. That's the one that people have thought about the most. That's the one where I think they're most open to messages of doing things differently. It's sort of leading the way. So, briefly, Project Rogue Valley is an attempt to gather people around that commonality, that overlap of interests, and really set aside some of the things that have separated us in the past. And the two main thrusts that went into it were sort of the after effects of my election campaign, when there were a lot of people who were engaged because they believed so strongly in developing local options for food, for transportation, for energies, for job generation. And then a group that had been around for 2 or 3 years by that point, the Jackson County Local Action Coalition. And how many of you are a little bit familiar with that group and what they do? So they arose more out of the rural parts of the valley, and just very generally, there were people with unhappy with a lot of the ways we've lost control of the direction of our local community. And what was striking to us, by us I mean a group in Ashland, was that while some of our differences of opinion were very obvious around some social issues, the role of government and environmental protection, all that kind of thing, the overlap in our interests was really strong and getting stronger. JCLAC has really emphasized local community self-reliance, and that was the center of my commissioner campaign. And so we started a conversation with JCLAC, and the result of that was Project Rogue Valley, which is trying to advance a very specific action agenda. We find that it's easier in some ways to work together when you're really specific about what you're doing, as opposed to kind of being abstract and debating ideas, and trying to really identify where we can work together and respect each other's ability to differ on the other issues. So there are four main areas of interest for Project Rogue Valley, and the primary one, the largest one, the one with the most potential, is food. Local food, making agriculture more economically viable for smaller scale farmers. There's so much going on with that. I'm sure you're aware of a lot of the initiatives. Some of them go way back, all the things that happen out of the OSU Extension Station on Hamley Road with Master Gardeners and the Small Farm Program, the 4-H and the FFA. This is not quite exactly a new idea, as you know. And some of them are newer, the growers markets, Medford Food Co-op, other kinds of efforts. And there are a lot of pieces to it, but as I say, people are so ripe for this message. I like to go, when I go to the growers market, and compare it to what it was like a couple, 3 years ago, and what a diversity of people you see, and how important it is and powerful for people to buy food from those who grow it. It's a pretty big change and a pretty big difference. So food is the number one, I would say the number one priority. And you may remember the event with Joel Salatin now a couple of years ago that JCLAC sponsored. And if you went, you saw about as big a variety of people as this valley has at that event, who all really resonated with the idea of having a more stable, healthier local food economy. And that can feed us, it can provide jobs, it can decrease our reliance on a food supply and a food system that has a whole lot of problems with it. So we are looking for ways, in all these areas, Project Rogue Valley is looking for ways where we can add value, not duplicate what's going on already. I'll come back to food in just a moment. But quickly I'll mention the other three areas that are of interest to us. One is timber and helping to advance a new timber economy. There's been really, in my view, really encouraging collaborative work among environmentalists, the timber industry, and the agencies over the last few years that don't get a lot of attention. And we're looking to see where we can be helpful in that. And probably in a lot of these, I think the ultimate vision is to bring together really thousands of people in the Rogue Valley to have influence with county government, with state government, and elsewhere, people who recognize that this effort can advance some of their strongest interests. And if they want to work on something that is outside this area of agreement, there are plenty of places to do that, where we're about building stronger local economy. So the second area is timber and timber-related jobs. A third area is local finance, so I won't talk about that much today. But there's been a lot going on around the country, and some here, for people who want to be able to use whatever surplus money they have, whether it's perhaps an IRA or 401k, or maybe just their savings, and instead of putting it in a black box that goes who knows where, some mutual fund that's doing who knows where on a national or global level, having it be capital for local businesses, being able to develop instruments that can invest or loan to local businesses, local startups, agricultural businesses and farmland among that, but other businesses as well, so people can put their money to work in something they believe in. And in this economy, very likely do as well on return on their investment as anything they can find on Wall Street, maybe better. So that's another area that's kind of complex. And, all of these, I'm going to invite you to visit the website to find out more on all of these. And the fourth area that interests us is what we call local procurement. There is a lot of the money in this economy right now is government money. And we want our local governments, primarily county governments, also city governments, to find a way to increase the local content in the contracts they put out for goods and services. As an example, in 2009, research that we did during my campaign, Jackson County spent $80 million on contracting for goods and services with private firms, and 2/3 of that money went to firms located outside the area. Now and we're saying, can at least our tax dollars stick around for a little while and circulate before they go flying off to, lots of different places. And there's a lot to that. That has a complexity to it that I'm not going to get into today. But there are some local governments leading the way in that, and we want Jackson County to be part of that. We haven't made a lot of progress with them so far, but we're still working that. But let me get back to food, because it's the interest that binds us, and the one that has me here, hoping that you'll perhaps join Project Rogue Valley, or at least check out the work a little bit more. And right now, in fact, I'm going to circulate a sign-up list asking for your email, which would get you only the news updates from Project Rogue Valley and another project called Immense Possibilities. It's kind of related to it. I'll mention that for a minute before I take off. We are really careful with the email addresses, and I know if you do email, you're getting email that you don't want, and we'll really be careful making sure that doesn't happen here. So food, what is, we are still in the learning stage really about how we can be most useful, but in a lot of ways, what seems to be needed is coordination. So what we've been told by a number of leaders in the local food community is we need to find ways, if more people are going to make their living partially or completely off the land and provide good food for us, we need to find ways to increase demand and be creative about that. So there are a number of initiatives, and a couple that interest us that we're starting to get involved in is trying to help organize community industrial-grade kitchens where food can be processed. And this has a couple of purposes. One is emergency preparedness and food kits that are going to provide families with food for 7, 14, 21 days. You can buy those online, but there's no reason in the world we couldn't be producing more of that locally. Another is, some of the specialty products that are made of foods. A few companies have started doing that, and we can do a lot more. And there are a lot of growers that have surplus produce this time of year, and then we, with sort of feast and famine in the winter, we're again more dependent on imported outside and prepared foods. What can we do if more of the summer and fall produce can be processed? And of course, legally meeting the requirements of food processing is beyond a lot of small growers. So we're looking at what can be done in terms of co-op kitchens. So there's already some things going on, and we want to advance that. A lot of you know about the efforts to get certified legal animal processing, slaughtering and processing and meat packing here. We're trying to help with that effort, talking to folks who are trying to advance that as well. Pardon me. And we're also talking about, we're looking at models of, some of you who are farmers know the challenges of breaking into some of the larger retail outlets. There are a number of retail outlets who would like to deal with would like to increase the amount of local produce in their stores and market that. Most business people who can want to position themselves as local and supporting the community. And there are a lot who would like to do that, but need a certain quantity and reliability of delivery that really is difficult for a lot of small growers. The Eugene area has succeeded in kind of aggregating the produce from a lot of small growers in something called organically grown, which I'm sure some of you growers know about. We think that that's a model we can be working with there. So those are some of the kind of specific things that we're really interested in doing. Let me take just a minute or two to tell you about Immense Possibilities, which is related. It's an attempt to broaden the awareness and appreciation of what's going on in local communities. It's a public television show on Southern Oregon Public TV, 7:30 on Tuesday nights, and it's an internet TV show all the time. The shows are always on the website at immensepossibilities.org. It's a show I created with a goal of generating realistic hope that people can do something to build healthy communities even now when the news on the front pages can be so discouraging time after time after time. But while all the discouraging things are happening, people are creating amazing possibilities in food and other places. So this is an attempt to get people aware of that, excited about that. If you sign an email list, you'll also get a weekly announcement of what the next show on Immense Possibilities is. Of the 18 shows we've done so far, I think 5 of them have been food, centered on food. Rotary First Harvest, Farm to School, Farm to Fork, and a couple that I'm not thinking of right now. Oh, the National Food Project, pardon me?
Tuesday evening,
Tuesday evening, 7:30 on SLP TV. Yeah. So I'm going to sell something too, if we can. This is in support of Project Rogue Valley. I also want to recognize somebody who's here who is on the Project Rogue Valley Steering Committee and really has been important in getting this thing going, and that's Lynn Barton. It's one of the people who told me about Price Anderson. She's been at this a long time. So this is the new Project Rogue Valley T-shirt, and I know it looks wonderful on the front side. What excites me though is the back, and I brought a few of these there in the back. When we started doing this, some of you must know Ben Truey, who's been on the Medford City Council and sort of a local historian. He started sending me ads and promotions from literally 100 years ago about supporting local economy. Another new idea that isn't. So on the back, I have about 20 of these illustrations that he sent me. So we put one of these on the back of this T-shirt, and this says, "Circulate the home dollar at home. It will then pass through many hands, help many merchants, and increase home prosperity. A dollar well spent is a dollar spent here." This is in the Jacksonville Post, January 13th, 1917. So it's not 100 years old, it's 94 years old. So anyway, we are selling these as fundraisers, $15 or more. There are a few of different sizes in the back of the room. You can just, if you'd like one, leave your money there. We are soliciting memberships, and you can join at projectroguevalley.org, or we'll get in touch with you if you sign that email. Summer mentioned $10. That is nominal. Actually, the annual fee is your choice of $10, $35, or $100. We're asking people if they look at the website, see what we're doing, really want to see it go, to donate at the higher level than $10 if they can. We just wanted to make sure that everybody who wanted to be part of this could find a way in. And money's a little scarce for some folks. Another thing we're dealing with is, that I should mention too, speaking of scarce money, is alternative forms of currency. One of the, you gave it, this piece on community currency. That's actually the show we did last week on Immense Possibilities on complementary currency, which is taking so many forms. I didn't know this, but during the Depression in the 30s, there was something like 500 or 600 communities that have their own currency. That's what happens when U.S. dollars get scarce. And so we're starting to see that again. There are a lot of models of that. That's a whole other afternoon's discussion. Some are printed bills, actual bills. We have a trade exchange going strong in Medford now. It's more business to business, where businesses can earn credits by serving each other. We have a Southern Oregon Time Bank now, where individuals are listing what they can offer, what kind of services they can offer. I need a haircut. I'll probably go to the Time Bank to get my haircut, and in return, I will be either cleaning someone's garage or providing some editing help. That's a really simple and informal kind of approach. And there's just, we are an ingenious people, and if the U.S., if the national institutions and Federal Reserve notes are not meeting our needs, we're going to find ways to get our needs met. And of course, that goes with food too. As you know, we have a challenge ahead because getting cheap food has been very easy for most of our lives, for the lives of people born since 1940 or 1950. And it's not hard for us to imagine how that could change very quickly. But a lot of people aren't imagining that. So I see the work of Project Rogue Valley as an attempt to get ourselves ready for what almost all of us think is coming before it actually comes. Because if we hit the wall, it's going to be a lot harder to organize ourselves in ways that work. So, and when I was talking about this on the campaign trail, everybody seemed to get it on one level or another. It was really quite remarkable. So let me stop there and see if there are any questions. Is there time for questions?
A few, and we can also pick that up after our main presentation too.
Sure.
Popcorn questions for anyone.
Sure. So a couple of questions if anybody has more comments. Or is there anything you'd like to add, Lynn, from your own perspective?
I just like to listen to you, and you do such a good job presenting it.
Thank you. Mutual admiration. Yes.
Are you going to be here afterwards at the end of this to
Yeah,
upload?
I'll stick around.
Okay, great.
Now, I only got about 5 or 6 T-shirts, so you better make a beeline at the end of the back table. And that money, of course, goes straight to Project Rogue Valley. So, let me say one more thing, which is we are actively looking for partners, allies in this effort. It's only coalitions that's going to work. going forward. So a couple things I would talk to you some or other folks who might be interested. We have 2 speakers we want to bring to the Valley to broaden awareness and perhaps for fundraising purposes. One, again, is Joel Salatin. One conversation about bringing Joel Salatin back, who's eminently popular and fun to listen to and fills a house. So if folks want to get involved in figuring out how to make that work monetarily and helping to organize that, we'd like to talk to you.
And Joel's got a new book out called Folks, This Ain't Normal.
Yeah.
It's new book, and it's got like the size of a normal chicken egg, I think, and the size of a humongous chicken egg on it.
All breast. And,
Right.
Folks, This Ain't Normal is his name. He's got a knack for naming books. His last book, of course, was Everything I Want to Do Is Illegal.
Actually, and just on that note about the Folks This Ain't Normal, if you guys buy it on Monday the 10th, then we have a better chance of getting that on a bestseller list. So we're trying to culminate people to make your purchase on October 10th, which is Monday. So I'm going to buy a couple copies on Monday, and I encourage you guys to do the same. You can do that through the Farm to Consumer Legal Defense Fund.
So Joel said, I think we're looking at maybe February or March for that. That's ahead of ways. Shorter time frame for Catherine Austin Fitz. How many know that name, Catherine Austin Fitz? We're talking to her, and we're talking about bringing her here in November. And there's sort of some financial issues about that. She wants to come, and we want to talk about maybe doing a main evening event with her, really promoting it, really trying to get people in who haven't heard about the things she talks about, because she's a good educator, and then maybe something else during the day. And so at any rate, that's really at the very beginning of the planning stage. And if you want to help bring her here, we are a membership organization, and members get this thing done.
Thank you so
thank
much,
you.
Joe.
Yeah, sure.
Really appreciate that.